We are 1 week away from our first camping trip of the season. It's going to be on the Easter weekend. So today's mission, the springification process. Yes, I believe that is really a word. I'm going to do the water system today, and I'll take you along on that journey. If you're new to the 20RDSE by Greywolf, this might help you. So if it does, please leave me a comment, like and subscribe. I got a lot of content specifically to this trailer, but a lot of it is applicable to other trailers. And as always on my videos, if I'm at my house, I live on a very busy road, and between the trains going by and the cars going by, there's usually a lot of background noise. So I'll apologize up front for that, but there's not much I can do about it. All right, first order of business. I had to winterize my outside hose bib. So I went and hooked the hose up, turned my water on to the outside, hooked my hose up. Okay, I turned the water on to the outside hose. I hadn't done that yet this year. Hooked my hose up, ran a lot of water through it to make sure there's nobody hanging out in that hose. I've hooked it up. The water is not on yet. I like to do a pre-check, get inside, make sure none of the handles are turned on or anything. I don't want to walk in, turn the water on, walk in and have bunch of water all over the place. So I'm going to go in and do a sanity check and make sure everything's closed. Then I'll turn the water on. Then I'll go through the systems one by one with you. Okay, so we're now back inside the trailer. One thing I want to point out is I have not talked about the water heater yet, and it is in bypass mode, meaning nothing is running through the hot water tank at this point. And the reason I haven't touched that is I want to get all this RV antifreeze out of my hoses and plumbing so that I don't push it into the hot water tank. So we'll clear all the pipes first. Once we have good clean running water, hot line and cold line, then we'll go switch the hot water heater over. So let's start. Okay, just cold first or hot. Gentle, gentle. See, you could do this with your water pump right now, fill the tank up, but why would you? You have the opportunity to put it up on your, if you got water to fill your tank, you got water to hook up for city water. So you're just gonna turn this on until there's no pink. And that antifreeze has a unique smell, and I can't smell it. And that's a huge thing. The water's running clear, it means I've gotten all the air out of this line. Now the opposite side, see, get the air out of that. Okay, everything's running nicely. She's nice and clear. Now yours may take longer to clear than mine did. I was fooling around last year. I ran RV antifreeze through it because I've always done RV antifreeze and it's what I know and trust. But I keep seeing all these things about blowing your hoses out with your air compressor, so I fooled around with that a bit last year. So I winterized with antifreeze, and then I still blew out the RV antifreeze. Yes, I know, what a waste of money, but just to see. So it feels logical that you can blow all the water out. My concern was all I needed was one little spot to screw up, and then I'd be in, a world of hurt. Okay, so this tap, everything where it connects to it, all the hoses to it, we know has no antifreeze in it. One done. Now we flush the toilet. And I should say the order you do this is irrelevant. And if it is relevant, and I'm just an idiot, please let me know. Okay, you can see it's nice and clear in there. Similarly, on slow at first, get the air out. Just keep running it until you don't see any more of the jerky air. Okay, now my signature move here, and I did replace my water, my shower head on this, much better, much more power. So unrelated, I don't remember what it is, but it's pretty common. So what I do is I pull it into my sink. Because as you saw earlier, I pulled my hamper out of here, and I tend to use that. It's where I store it. So I'd rather just not have to deal with a wet floor basin. Slowly I'll turn my water on. Same situation. Turn it on low and slow. See that water pressure on that new faucet? Way better than stock one. Now switching to the other side. Getting all that air out. All right. There we have it. So at this point, what we've achieved is, with the exception of the outside shower, which we're going to go do next, we've cleared all the plumbing that goes to all the faucets. Like I said, we got one more to do outside. Once we have that done, all the pipes are clear. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water in my freshwater tank. I'm going to turn on my pump and let it run any antifreeze that may be, because when you winterize through your pump, which is located under the bathroom sink. And if there are any sections of line that have RV antifreeze in it, we're going to purge that out too. Just a continuity. Once we're done all of that, then we're going to open up the hot water heater. We'll just pull that out, turn one on. All right, so we got good flow. Now the reason I like to do it in this order is now all of the lines have nice, clean, fresh water in them. So when I switch over to my tank and I do the pump, it's not going to need to prime all those lines. They're all going to have water in them. So it's going to make the job a lot easier. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add some of the water from here into my freshwater connection. So I'm on the city water, I'm going to move over to my freshwater connection. In a moment of geniusness, what I just thought of is I really should put a connector right here with a shutoff. That saves me having to walk all the way back to the end of the hose, because you know I follow the hose the long way. Turn it off at the house. Might just be a quick cheat. So maybe that's something I'll look at for next time. Now I don't typically put hose water directly into my freshwater tank. I usually put my filter on, but in this case I don't really care, because I'm going to put some water in there, more than I need to do the job that I'm going to do, like I said, for just turning the pump on. But I like to give that freshwater tank a little rinse, and I'll be pulling the drain on that as well and letting all that water out. But when I'm putting water in to consume, I always apply my filter. How much water am I putting in? Oh, I don't know. How long does it take to fill a 5 gallon pail? Maybe I'll put 2 5-gallon pails in. So you dance around a bit until you have to pee so bad that you stop filling the trailer. You run and turn the hose off. You go pee, you come back out and continue. So that's your best gauge. When the pee dance isn't working anymore, you've probably put enough water in. We're back in business. So first order of business, let's see how much water we put in on the fresh. So about 1/3 of a tank, more than sufficient. That's my water heater. We don't want that. Remember, it's empty. You'll burn it out in like seconds. Water pump on. Now another little thing that I did on my specific trailer is this board was usually screwed right in. I said no gracias. I didn't like that. Taking those 2 screws out. I bought these magnetic things. 1 on each side, so I can just pop it off whenever I want. All right, I forgot a little detail. So when you're winterizing, you can see that knob there, or the valve I should say, right there that the light is on. It is pointing up to this hose because, like I said before, levers point in the direction of flow. So this hose, that's what I was putting in the RV antifreeze. So this hose is full of RV antifreeze. The little hose from the valve, this little filter, my pump is probably up to there, is probably all antifreeze, and that's why we're doing this step, to clear those out. So first order of business, I have to turn that valve pointing towards the pump. The magic of television, I have turned the pump valve. It's pointing towards the pump now, as you can see. Okay, so now you can see that I'm pointing towards the pump. Okay, I can hear my pump. Just gonna turn one of them on until we get some free flowing water there. Now in the past, if my pump didn't prime, I would actually turn my city water back on and get water running, and it would create a bit of a vacuum. But usually if you do it the way I just did, see how foamy that water was? That was the RV antifreeze going through it. And now we got good pressure. All these lines are primed. See, that one didn't even sputter because it didn't need to. We just cleared that one spot in the water heater. So just like that, we're in good business. I'm gonna turn my water heater back. I keep saying water heater, water pump. Remember, we're not touching the water heater just yet. Okay, so water pump's primed. I show up on campsite. I don't typically have hookups. Life's easy. This just sticks perfectly on there with a magnet. Way better than screws. Close that up. We have officially winterized all the main pieces of the plumbing. Now in a previous video I did show that I created an access hatch. Alternatively, I'd have to lift my bed, climb under my bed, and reach through blindly, but I have closed off the basement or the pass-through area. So that would mean I'd have to take all my stuff out that I keep there all year and climb in all the way to that back corner where the water heater is. Or I just grab my whole bed, pull it back a little bit. But this little hatch, best invention ever. Did a little video on why from the when I winterized, but it is not a one-handed operation. So let's give this a try. This is just a boat access point. Nice and easy. And my connections are right here, easy breezy, except when my arm's in there, you're not gonna see anything anyway. So I'll just get these turned, but you can see right at the tip of my finger, that's valve number 1. It's pointing up and down. Well, it's pointing down, but it's in line with the up and down pipes here to this cross section, which is called a bypass. And there's another one right here. You can just barely see the white. So I'm gonna flip those and point them towards the tank, both of them. And now when the water comes, it's gonna come up into the tank. And when you turn the tap on, it'll come out this side and down and into your plumbing system. All right, if you look closely, see how that valve looks a little differently now? Because it's pointing towards the tank. Just like that, boom. Put the cover on, lock and load. Thought that was a bug attacking me. It turned out to be a piece of electrical wiring from when I changed my dome lights so they turned blue. Apparently I missed something. Pushed my bed back in. We upgraded to this foam mattress. It's much heavier, but much more comfortable. Now I'm just going to run the city water again. It'll fill up my hot water tank. I'll turn my hot water valve on in here, get some water in that tank, and once I'm done that, it'll just be a matter of drain the hot water tank, drain the fresh water tank, and yeah, we're done. at least from a plumbing perspective. Turn my hot on. Doesn't have to be on full blast. Just get water running through that hot water tank. And we'll head outside. See the air? That's the air in the hot water tank. Now, there's many models of this hot water tank. And if you're new to the 20RDSE, this is a 2021, I should clarify that. Not all of them have anodes. That whole check your anode every year, this one does not have an anode. One thing you do to winterize it is you take this nylon plug off, let the bottom water out, and put it back in. So what's happening right now is water's making its way into here. That's why you saw that sputtering. What I like to do is pull the relief valve, helps get some of that air out. Right? Now we'll just watch the water, and when the water is flowing nicely, I'll know that all the air is getting out of that tank. It literally just switched to that when we came out. So we've gotten the air out of the tank, and now I know I have hot water. Well, there's water in the hot water tank, I should say. So what I'll do, turn that off. It'll continue to fill up. I'm going to turn my electric water pump on so that my propane's not turned on right now. So I'll turn the electric one on and we'll test that out just to make sure we know we have hot water. You don't want to get to camp and not have hot water. So I got the electrical on, I got water going into the tank, so it's good. Let nature take its course. We'll check the hot water. Once I know that, now I know my electrical heating element is working. And then what I'll do is I'll turn my propane on, and then I will use the water heater here, which is propane. I'll turn the electric off, turn the propane water heater on. I'll hear it fire up. I'll be able to go outside, feel it with the hot water tank. So nice and easy. And then I'll know that the propane heater's working, the electrical heater's working. All my plumbing is flushed out of any shitty antifreeze. Oops, crappy antifreeze. And I've got good water in here to start the season. And it's important to note that I did the electric first. Because how do you check the other one? I can check the propane one's working by the burner. I can go out there and hear it kick on and burn. Burning hot water is what I know that the heater's working. If I did it the other way around, I'd have hot water in the tank and have no way of knowing whether the electricity heated it or the propane. So electric first, then propane. So while I'm waiting for the electric to kick on, I'm gonna come out here. I'm gonna turn my propane on. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Loosey's on. And why don't we check the furnace out? Let's make sure that's working okay. So, furnace is nice and easy. I hit the button until it says heat. Heat, and turn it over the existing temperature, which my trailer is saying 58 Fahrenheit. You can hear some clicking. All right, fan is kicked on. Safety feature, get air flowing through it first before you go trying to ignite fuel. So we'll just leave that on for a minute or two. I'm doing this for demonstration purposes because I was working on the trailer earlier. In previous videos, you'll see where I've changed some of my lights out to blue LEDs that were actually in dimmable white so that it wasn't so blinding on the eye. While I was in here, it was freezing cold that day, so I had my heat on. So I know this will get warmer. True RV fashion. Warms up slow and then it starts cooking, and then you sweat, and then it's cold, and you sweat and it's cold. So, yeah, that's just nice. No surprises, right? When you set up for camp, I know my heat's gonna work, I know my water's working, Lovely. So I'm just going to turn my heat off again because there's just no need for that. Just turn the whole system off. Now at this point we can give the hot water a little check. I mean, the temperature from the hose to the temperature of something that's got heat on it, there should be some difference. I'm just going to leave that a little bit. It's moderate, but not enough for me to definitively say my heating element's working. So we'll just leave that as it is for the time being. I mean, I can turn the cold on and do a complete comparison, and this is definitely much, much colder than what is coming out of that one. So I know it's working, but let's just do a true test. I'll leave it run a little bit more. So, plumbing, check. Heat, check. As far as systems go, toilet flushes, seal's good, right? Everything's de-winterized, hot water tank. You know, you did your typical check for leaks and crap inside to see if there's anything in there. Generally speaking, we're in some pretty good shape. And yeah, so we'll do the hot water. Do a stove element just to make sure gas is getting to your stove. Nice and easy to do. If you know how to light your stove, you'll know. And you know, you see how long ago I turned my heater off, and it just literally went off now. Because again, it runs air first before it starts ignition to make sure that there's good airflow in there as a protective feature. When you turn it off, it turns the flame off, but it leaves the pump running or the fan running to get exhaust any air that's in there. So pick an element, put on high. There we go. Elements on. Elements off. Elements on. Elements off. Elements on. Elements off. And just like that, we know we're going to be able to cook inside. I'm not going to waste my time with the oven. It's always a bitch. So if you're having problems with that, you're not alone. It does start eventually, but it's just a matter of getting her going. So yeah, so all that's good. You know, if you wanted to, you could switch this on to fan just to hear the fan kick on, right? Make sure your air conditioner or air conditioners are working, right? That doesn't mean the compressor is working for cold air, but in 58 degrees, it's kind of difficult to actually test that out. So, all right, back to our hot water. Yeah, this is definitely, there's definitely electricity warming this water up. And if in doubt, turn the cold back on, stick your hand under it. You'll notice the difference. So the electricity is working. I'm gonna go back in here and turn that off. Right, turn my electrical off. These really need to be better labeled, but mine does say 110 there, and that label will fall off, and someday I'll be like, what is that switch for when I get old and senile again, or older and more senile? Okay, so now I just turn my heating pump on. Now let's go outside. By the time we get out here, it'll already be cooking. You hear that? That is the sound of propane burning, and that is the heat coming off it, so we know the propane heater's working. As I said, the last piece I'm going to do here, I am going to pull my fresh water drain. And I'm going to stand here and wait for it to finish draining so that I don't forget, and then I have friends climbing up underneath in that hole, making a home in what effectively is my water source if I'm like I usually am without a direct hose hookup. So as you can see, 10 gallons in there, if that, it's at a third of tank. More than adequate. There we go. So we gave that nice, you know, a third of water in there is more than enough to rinse the bottoms and side of that tank off a little bit. So we'll just let her finish draining, then I'll close it up. So if you found this useful, please like my video. Feel free to subscribe. I'm always up to something on here, and you know, sometimes it's my dog, sometimes it's these feral cats that keep the mice out of my trailer. But generally speaking, at this time of year, it's mostly my trailer, what I'm working on.